we are doing something different for the duration of Andor. We're going to be covering the episodes that dropped the previous night or tonight. Man, it's been out less than a day, but it's been a ride already. Today, I've brought on a bunch of people who we've been able to go to the premieres and see it, and so we want to share that experience with you, as well as just enjoy the show. So we're going to do that right here on the high ground. Hello, my wonderful guests. We will have another guest joining us shortly. But yeah, welcome to the high ground. It's your guys' first time coming on. So I want to kind of open it up by having you guys introduce yourself. It's like who you are, where we can find your awesome content. And, the icebreaker question today is, in Star Wars, who is the character that you wish you were? And who is the character you actually are?
Oh,
Nice.
Because those seldom line up.
Yeah.
So I'll give you guys a second to think about that. Everyone else in the chat as well, I'd love to hear your answers. Who in Star Wars you want to be and who you actually are. So yeah, go ahead and shout those out when you get a chance. But I will start with Alden.
Okay, so I'm gonna as I'm speaking, I'm gonna noodle and try to nail this character question. So this is the stuff that all the content creators can just rattle off. So my name is Alden Diaz. I work in radio. I was working for iHeartRadio for the past few years, and I still do from time to time. I do work with fandom, and I'm the host of the Ach-To Radio Star Wars Podcast Network, which has 3 shows on it. We were just part of Podathon. Just had Ryan Johnson on. So if you heard that Ryan Johnson was talking about something, that's probably where it was. And he's the sweetest person ever.
Awesome
so, yeah.
Conversation.
Thank you so much. He's just the best. So yeah, you can find me at that Alden Diaz everywhere. It's right there in writing. And then character that I wish I was, Sabine Wren. I absolutely wish I was Sabine Wren. I'm not going to be like, take jacket off, but I have Sabine's last helmet tattooed on my arm from the Rebels epilogue, the one that will be in live action, which is very exciting. I love that character. And then who am I actually? Probably not to just pick Ghost Crew, but maybe Chopper. I feel like Chopper sometimes. Maybe Luthen from Andor. I feel very grizzled sometimes. So yeah.
seen some things pretty hardcore. Commit some war crimes. Yeah, no, that's
just slight ones.
Awesome. And how about you, Niamh?
Hi. So I'm Niamh. I'm R2shetwo on TikTok, Instagram, Interactive. And apologies for the quality. It is 1 a.m. where I am. I'm in London, so sorry if this looks, because I am. Me on here, first of all. Who am I and who would I want to be? So I think who I'd want to be would obviously be Rey. Kind of my Star Wars character. Like everything that she is, I see a lot in myself, but like she's like the idolized version of myself, if that makes sense. Who I'm most like, maybe like Cyril Khan, because he's just obsessed with Cassian and that's me at the moment. Like maybe I'll just go with that. I'll say Cyril, why not? It's on theme.
Okay, I like it. Myself, if I could be like any character, it would have to be it would be Lando, because he's just chill and he can talk to anyone and do anything. He's just relaxed and he's so extroverted. I am very much not that. The character I actually am is the droid Dio, who's
I love Dio.
Yeah. When people are like too close and I'm like, nope, no thank you. No thank you.
Oh,
no thank you. I love that character so much. That's great. I will say though, maybe you haven't reached that point of identifying with Lando, but I saw your suit on the red carpet, my friend. That was Lando. That was Lando's style.
When the need arises, yeah, I can back out.
Tap in. Inner Baron administrator. I like that.
Absolutely. We have some people in the chat. I have Joseph here who wants to be Han Solo, but it's actually Luke Skywalker, which is not bad. Depending on when in Luke Skywalker's life you want to be.
Right.
I have Droidy Jedi. I want to be Leia, but I'm probably C-3PO.
That's close though. It's like you're at least next to Leia a lot of the time.
Physically, I want to be Jango, but I'm actually any clone from the episode Rookies. But that's just not the idealized version of yourself, and you'll definitely get there. I want to be Cad Bane, but I'm actually Bib Fortuna. Don't say that about yourself.
No, yeah, it's like I want to be a really cool criminal. I'm a lame criminal.
I hate Bib Fortuna so much. Ever since I was a child and I saw his face, I was like, I don't like that. I don't.
You know, that's fair because he sort of has like the when E.T. is dying complexion, like that wet sort of pinkish, like gross white skin that's all wrinkled up, and yeah,
he freaks me out. Galactic Mermaid, I'd like to be Deba Balaba, but I'm actually Uptight Comac.
Nice.
Yeah. Always appreciate the High Republic love because that's where my heart is. But yeah, I wanted to talk about. Well, we'll start by talking about our experiences at the premiere, and yeah, I want to hear what it was like. You know, how far in advance did you hear you guys were coming? What did you have to do? Like, what was that experience like? And I'll just kind of open it up so we can be conversational with it.
Sure. Niamh, if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll go. So I found out very last minute. So the first thing about premieres was seeing all of you guys getting invited to the US one. And that was just so exciting, seeing all like my friends being invited. I didn't even cross my mind that would end up happening for me. So happy, especially for people like Emily, like Stardust M, who just like has been breathing this for like 4 or 5 years. So I was just feeling really happy. And then it'd be really good if like Star Wars did some sort of event in London, because they never do anything, like no immersive things, no like showing. And then like literally an hour later I had an email, which was just a bit crazy. And so I had about like 2 days, I think, which trying to prepare mentally for that when I've been counting down for 4 years, and then suddenly it was like 1 day ahead that it was actually happening. It was like, oh, okay. But yeah, it was very low key, huge IMAX cinema. So we got to watch it on like the huge screen. They had B2 Emo there, like the actual droid with the actual droid movers doing it for you. That was for people who've been invited.
Cool. I saw your picture.
To meet him.
Love him.
Yeah, it was so responsive as well. It was a bit weird. Like I was bringing him kisses and he was like shriveling in as if he was blushing. Like it was insane. And this was before I'd even obsessed.
Wow.
And then there were some troopers there. That was pretty cool. So it wasn't so much of a premiere, it was more of a preview screening, but there was just so many people there from like that it really felt like I'm amongst my people. You know? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Carly?
I'm going all right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
You sound great.
Thank you.
And well, we're just hearing Niamh's experience at the UK screening.
Oh, awesome.
Which is super cool. I mean, I saw like Tyra was there, and Andrew's Visuals was there. A lot of people I followed there, so that's super cool.
Yeah, it was
That's
really
so
cool.
cool.
It was just nice to celebrate it with people that we're kind of friends because of that franchise. I think that's the most special thing about it. It's like not just recognition from Star Wars that you've contributed something, but like you're just getting to celebrate it surrounded by people that you've met because of it. Same with Celebration, but just even small events like that, it just really felt like so much love in the room, you know? So yeah, it's a really good night.
So cool. Are you going to Celebration next year?
Yes, in my city.
Gosh. That's so exciting. Oh my
really
gosh.
exciting. Yeah, because I came to Chicago a few years ago, so for it to be in London now, thank God.
Yeah. As much as I love
Saving a lot of
Chicago,
money.
not fair to you. So I think it's time.
Not really.
Yeah.
But we are going to rely on you to show us around.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy toes.
Awesome. Well, Carly, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, where we can find your awesome content? And the question I asked everyone to answer was, what character in Star Wars do you wish you were like, and what character are you actually like?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. My name is Carly King, and I am a Star Wars YouTuber. I'm an actress. I do cosplays. I do stunts and martial arts. I'm from Florida, but I recently moved to Los Angeles, California, which is terrifying and insane.
Good move,
and
though. Good move.
Thank
Still in
you.
Florida. Good move.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And if I could be a Star Wars character, I think I would be. I feel like I would be. I think I would want to be R2D2 because he's kind of been through everything. You know, he's
Mhm.
kind of experienced everything, whether it's good or bad. But like,
Mhm.
I feel like it would be interesting to see things from his perspective.
Right.
And I feel like a character I'm like.
It's
I think
tough.
Han Solo because he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's kind of me.
Yeah. I love that. I love that
I'd
you
say
picked Han
so.
for like the real reasons,
Yeah.
like the truth of Han and not the legend of Han.
Right.
That's
Right.
great.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, watching you, belt out Before He Cheats
Oh my god.
karaoke.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Oh my god. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, no matter how much I suck at singing, I love to do it. And it's fun to do it in front of like a lot of people. And, everyone
good
was coming up
energy.
to me.
That was good
Everyone was
energy.
coming up to me and they were like, thank you so much for singing that. It made me like feel good. I was like,
Feel
okay.
righteous.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, when I was like getting ID'd outside of the bar and I could hear someone doing No Diggity on stage. And I told you this,
Oh my
Chaco, and
god.
I was like, ooh.
That was iconic.
Yeah. Ooh, I love this moment. And then I get inside and I'm like, oh, it's Chaco. I was like, yes, even better.
No
Oh
diggity.
my god.
I'm
That's great.
just happy I was able to go on before Josh sang The Shallows.
Oh my god.
Because like
Yeah.
you can't follow that. Like I would have been
Same.
ashamed and had to just go home.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Josh is really good. I experienced him singing the national anthem at the Star Wars soccer game, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
incredible. Like I was in shock. That man has pipes.
That's fantastic. I love that.
And also, I want to shout out, and say hi to Tyrell in the chat. Appreciate you hanging out here. I had a few people who ended up being busy at the very last minute, so I reached out to a couple people, including Tyrell. Happily, I got some amazing people on. Josh got invited to another Andor pop up. And Jay Stoops was sick, but thank you.
Thank
And
you
then
for inviting us.
somewhere down Chaco's list, he was like, I guess they'll have to do.
Yeah.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
circle them and I'll invite.
No, I invited people I've been
honored to the honor.
eyeballing for a long time. Actually, with Niamh, we became friends off of some hard times.
But that was a while ago as well. That was that was weird situation. Very strange, but it's the best of this community. So I'm like grateful for it in a weird way.
We were all putting up our Star Wars rankings, and Niamh put up theirs, and the fanboys caught it.
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Got her
I'm
banned
sorry,
off of TikTok
man.
for a while.
That's nuts. People are, and again, like you said, it shows you the good, but it always comes in waves, and it's almost like there's a space fantasy about that, about about all the bad coming and then all the good rallying. You really get a sense of who's legit, and also whatever your ranking is, your ranking rocks, and it can't be more chaotic than mine or some of the ones that I've seen. My top 5 will send people into the hospital.
Same.
Like, they just have. They
Should
don't
we
know
give
how
our
to deal
top
with it.
5? I feel like
give your
I feel
top
like
five. Go ahead.
chat's really nice. I feel like chat's like amazing right now. Everyone seems super kind. I feel like if we did give our top fives, they would be supportive.
I'll pull
Oh
it up
my
on
goodness, my
Letterboxd
chat
right
is the
now.
best chat of
It
all
really is.
Definitely.
chats.
That's not
Like,
surprising though at all.
yeah,
Oh gosh.
this.
I'd say well, my number one is obviously Empire Strikes Back. It always has been. It's incredible. My second is Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Third, Return of the Jedi. Fourth, Solo.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
Love
I would
it.
even put Solo in third, honestly, just for the last 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Only the last 5 minutes.
Kira is iconic.
And then 5, I would put A New Hope. You know, those are my
Love
top
that.
5.
Love it.
What
All
about
right.
you guys?
Neve, do you have yours?
I'm a sequel lover.
Fair
So
Love that.
apologies, there is not a single original in that top 5. So well, maybe there is actually. So Force Awakens will always be in my number one. Like that was my like. I've always been into Star Wars, but that was the first one I saw in cinema. Like that to me is like my A New Hope, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, and then I'd probably say, yeah, Return of the Jedi, and then Empire. If
Fair
just going off the films. But I think what really ticked people off the wrong way was I put Rebels above Clone Wars.
Oh, that's
People
that's
didn't like
just,
that.
That's just
People
correct.
did not like that.
That's just correct.
Ooh.
If I had shows in my ranking, Rebels would be the
Mhm.
number one Star Wars project. Period. Bar none.
Wow.
Really?
Period.
I love to hear
I
that.
love that. I
Absolute
love
period.
Rebels.
I think I have the. There it is from the Rebels Remembered
Nice.
panel.
Oh
and
my
Nice.
God.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
No.
cool.
I mean, but excluding the shows, Return of the Jedi, Last Jedi, Solo, and then this is where people have a heart attack. The Rise of Skywalker, and then this is where people like die from that heart attack. Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
I love those.
I
movies.
hate Attack of the Clones. No offense. I valid, first of all, but I cannot sit through Attack of the Clones for the life of me.
No, I get it.
I can't.
I really loved Attack of the Clones, but then I
Mhm.
found later that every time I would watch it, I would fall asleep, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Maybe that means something. But I always say if Attack of the Clones is high on your list, you are elite because you've been through it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
I have respect for you.
you have the
Thank you.
strongest character.
Yeah.
For me, I always get in trouble right off the bat because The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, Star Wars project. I love it. Followed by Empire, then Return of the Jedi, then Revenge of the Sith. And then after that, Rogue One, which, by the way, Rogue One used to be
I
dead
love Rogue
last, and it
One.
jumped up quite a bit.
I'd say
I know.
my
Wow.
sixth. Yeah.
Yeah, Rogue One is not my favorite, but that makes my reaction to the show even more powerful and palpable.
Yes.
Love
Which is
my like most violent hot take is that my favorite Star Wars war movie is the animated Clone Wars movie, and not Rogue One. I love the animated Clone Wars movie.
Dang.
It is good. So,
somebody
said holiday special number 1 in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Give it up for Chewbacca's son, Lumpy.
That movie, man.
Lumpararu is canon.
He's canon. Yep.
Yeah. So we might see, you know, Chewbacca's father-in-law get nasty to some VR stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Not the best choice.
I like to think that B. Arthur is, you know, somewhere out there still being space. You know, one more round, friends.
Yes. Oh my God. Or who's the today we're making Bent the surprise. What's her name?
I can't remember her name. It's
I can't remember either, but it's time for a rewatch. This is actually a holiday special commentary.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
I would do that as live commentary for sure. But yeah, I mean, why don't we just go ahead and jump into Andor? You know, we all got to see the first 3 episodes, and then I rewatched them again last night and stayed up pretty late because I'm a masochist. But I enjoyed it the second time even more than the first time. I'm curious, what were you guys' kind of initial thoughts coming into it, and basically your thoughts on episode 1? What jumped out at you? And I'll ask Niamh first.
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say
You
I'm
guys were all
happy
too
to start
polite.
this. If anyone's seen my social media in the last like maybe 3 months especially, this has been my most anticipated Star Wars project in years, since the sequels especially. Like I love Mando, but this was the one, like from the announcement I was like, this is my show, this is for me, I'm getting my boy back. It's the most interesting period in galactic history for me, like this is it. So I have been fighting for this show's life online, retweeting every bit of promo, shoving it in people's faces, and I am just so relieved that I haven't embarrassed myself because of how good it actually ended up being. And I feel like I'm such an unreliable source to talk about it because everyone just knew that I was going to enjoy it in some sort of capacity just because I'm getting that character back. But honestly, I'm obsessed with it. It's just exactly what I had in my head. But then also giving me like so much more that I didn't expect as well. So I'm happy. Really happy.
Awesome.
Awesome.
But you, Alden?
Yeah, I've been very honest over the years with the fact that I struggle with Rogue One. There are days where I'm like, Rogue One, I'm sorry, I love you. And then there are other days where it's like we have a little bit of a contentious bicker going on. But I was enamored with Cassian and with Chirrut from the get. And so when they decided to do a show,
He's my favorite.
Yeah, I
Chirrut.
think those characters are just brilliant. And so, but the Cassian idea was great. I love Diego. So I was on board for this idea. I thought that what Gilroy brought to it was really interesting. But then sitting down and watching it, earlier you mentioned Emily Stardust M. I'd never physically seen her, so I didn't know what she looked like. She was in front of me in line to get in, so we ended up talking about it. So I was going in a great mood, and then it blew me away. It's a sucker punch, like the way I've described it, and I described it immediately after is people that love Star Wars. We always have to tell people, well, it's always been political. It didn't just happen now. This is the show that's like, yeah, we're no longer nicely explaining that. Like now, if you don't get it, sorry. It just goes all the way in, but it doesn't stop being Star Wars. B2 is super Star Wars. The tall alien that stops him in the street, super Star Wars. Everything with like you have young kids speaking an alien language in a forest, looking at a big ship. Like that's just so iconic. So I loved it.
Yeah, and I love how you bring that out. I mean, and I guess we'll go to Carly last, but is it a negative that it doesn't have the same addition of the Force and the same that feeling? Is it being grounded a negative or a positive for you? What do you think, Carly? And your overall thoughts.
Well, to bounce off of what you said about the Force, I feel like no matter what Star Wars does, the passion that they put into it is kind of like the Force. So I felt that in a sense, like seeing everybody come together in the show, fight for what they believe in. I feel like that itself is the Force. You know what I mean? I had recently went to see Rogue One re-released in theaters, and I went to see it at the El Cap, which we saw it at the premiere that day. And I had never seen Rogue One in a theater before that, so I never really got to experience it in its fullest extent, its like fullest possibility. My first Rogue One story was kind of interesting, but I don't want to get into it.
Cliffhanger.
It's interesting. Good.
Maybe I could explain it later.
All right.
But as far as Andor goes, I was expecting it, of course, to be incredible, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. The first scene, and I've talked about it on my Twitter many times, the first scene in the show where Cassian goes into like that bar type, like it's a Star Wars strip club.
It's a brothel. It's a brothel.
Yes.
It's a brothel. Yeah.
The music, dude, the freaking music, the
So
sound,
good.
the Foley artists need to be bowed down to. everyone at Skywalker Sound, they all need love and affection right now because they knocked it out of the park. Like, Matt Wood, shout out. He's a good friend of mine. He's the sound supervisor at Lucasfilm. Incredible person. And the talent that came out in this show, I am blown away. Truly.
Legends.
Literally legendary. And I feel like sound is what mostly stood out to me in the show so far. The characters are rich. The acting is like impeccable. It's phenomenal. And just the story, a lot of people have been saying it's a slow burn, but I think they're just used to Star Wars being like, oh, here's R2, here's Chewie, oh, surprise, here's Han, here's this, here's that.
Yeah.
They want that like immediate fan service, you know, but for this, it's a true story. And I feel like that's what we need. And that's what we've needed for years.
And what's interesting is like,
story.
You bring up a great point because it's like, to be as Star Wars as it can be, it needs to sacrifice some Star Wars. It's a weird relationship. The show is almost running up. If there's a fence and on one side of the fence is Star Wars, on the other side there's not Star Wars, it runs up against that fence, climbs it a little, and then comes back down every time. It's like it'll do something that Star Wars has never done. A brothel, the S word. I don't know if I can swear here. The very heavily implied sexual encounter, all that stuff. But then it brings you back into Star Wars. And we know that he will move toward classic Star Wars. Mothma's coming, all that. But it tests it because, like you said, Star Wars moves always like Indiana Jones does. I wonder why that is. It's almost like they were made by the same person. But it moves at a clip. It's always a storybook clip. It's just constantly like, we're here. This one, it's like you find out that Luthen's going to meet Cassie in episode 1. They don't meet till 3. So it's much more like a novel in that way.
It is a novel. That's exactly.
It's the exact opposite of Solo, because Solo moved at such a fast pace, and we got introduced to a lot of new characters and things like that, but we didn't find much out about them. And I would absolutely love to get more in depth, but the slow burn allowed each and every character to breathe and to.
It let the audience breathe, you know?
Yeah. And it did the thing I love the most is it trusted its audience to figure it out. There was no, hey, here is the exposition so that you can understand it. No, they live in the universe. It's not a story being told to us. It's a story that we're living alongside these characters.
I feel like a lot of this is thanks to the director. I mean, he gave the show such great direction and the actor such great direction that it's like, it's just so good, man.
And this has been truly like, this is more a comment on the whole era, but from, if you know, on-screen acting, I don't want to discount Clone Wars Season 7, Bad Batch, Rebels, all that, of course. But if you look at these films and live action shows, from Force Awakens to now, your opinions of the plots aside, the acting has been unreal. It has never been as good as it is now. Like Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Diego Luna, Pedro Pascal, like it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's insane. Like the talent pool is insane.
Diego Luna is just so talented.
Yeah. He's amazing. And this Fiona Shaw, who plays Marla Andor, who we loved to hate her when we were kids.
Oh my God. I have a story about her. Dude,
I just watched Harry Potter for the first time this year.
Oh my God.
So. Really?
Yes.
Dude, I was in line at the premiere waiting to get my photos taken, like by the Getty people. And Fiona Shaw was in front of me and I knew I recognized her, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly who she was. She was dressed in all blue and she had blonde hair. So I was like, oh, okay, she seems cool. And she was really nice. Like I walked up to her and like said hello. And then I got my pictures taken and I went on with my day. But I was like, why does she look so familiar to me? The next morning, I look up Fiona Shaw and it says Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And I was like, oh my God, I walked and talked to Petunia Dursley, who traumatized me as a child. Like, I grew up with this woman. Like, if only I knew I was talking to Mrs. Dursley whenever I was at the premiere.
So good. She's great, and everybody. I mean,
She's great. Yeah.
everybody is so good. Even the the smaller players that are just like people in the town. It's like it's life, and that's what Star Wars is so good at. It's in the same way that Mandalorian has like Navarro, like this Ferrex community feels so rich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
think that's,
real.
like-
It's like something about it feels
Exactly.
real.
And I think that's when you were saying about like it not having the force in it. And as cheesy as this sounds, I feel like the force is coming from how much, like you were saying about the passion has been put into
Mhm.
this show. Like the cast that they've got is insane. Like Tony
Yeah.
Gilroy is just
Yeah.
what he did with Rogue One and what he's doing now to
He's
me
a
is just
genius.
exactly the direction Star Wars needs to go. Like it's just offering so much more. And I think sometimes Star Wars, I was getting a little bit disillusioned with it recently, I can't lie, because I think it tries to live up to like it needs to feel like Star Wars and it needs to look like Star Wars. And it's like, but what is that? Like I don't quite understand what Star Wars is.
Yeah,
But I
and
think
it's a
this show
sliding
coming back
scale.
exactly, and I think this show coming back with like the practical effects and like
Mhm.
just all of that, like it's Star Wars, but it's adapting and it's changing, and that to me feels like the energy behind it that it needs,
Mhm.
basically.
And that's my big thing is it needs to feel like Star Wars to whom,
Yeah.
if you're someone that grew up loving the prequels specifically, then certain things, I was there with the original trilogy fans when they said
Mhm.
this doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Right.
But, yeah, so it's it's just kind of a weird.
It's always your entry
Words
point
something.
informs everything. Like with the Acolyte
Yeah.
in production right now,
Yes.
Leslie Headland is the first Star
Mhm.
Wars showrunner, writer, creator to be of the Dark Times age group,
Mhm.
like reading Legends, playing West End
Yeah.
games, and being online. And so that's going to change everything. Where it's like we've seen like Favreau's a little bit older than Dave, who's
Mhm.
sort of like the bridge of the eras, but now we're going to go to the other side. And
Yeah.
then we won't know what a sequel kid's perspective is until 15, 20 years from now. And so
Yeah.
it always staggers and it changes. And to your point, Niamh, like what is feels like Star Wars? It's up to
Yeah.
everybody. And it's like I don't ever want Star Wars to be.
Agree.
This is not a shot at any filmmaker, but we had some DC films that were maybe a little not hopeful and a little bit like maybe hard for a child to watch a superhero try to murder another one with a spear. And it's like I don't ever want Star Wars to go that far because it's supposed to be
Yeah.
hopeful fantasy. This
Mhm.
goes as far as it can go, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to be wrong, but I think that it pushes it, but always comes back. Like, I mean, this starts with, are we spoiling? Is that cool?
Yeah, we're going all in. We're going all
Okay, cool. Okay, so spoiler warning. This starts with two officers of the law being murdered, one of them in cold blood, but then we move straight into little B2 emo being like, well, I can't lie because it takes too much energy out of me, and that's two lies.
Yeah.
And
Oh my god, I loved that so much.
yeah, I love that stuff. It's because that's so
And people are
Gilroy.
calling
Like,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
People calling it
get
slow.
that, but
Within the first 10 minutes, he cold blank murders two guys.
yeah.
Like, how is
Yeah.
that slow in the first 10 minutes?
I guess it goes back to his childhood because he like
Mm.
grew up basically in that element where it's like we're doing whatever we can to protect ourselves. You
Right.
know what I mean? And everyone around us. And I guess, it all stems from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Speaking of protection, we need to protect B.
That is
We're
correct.
protecting
Yes.
B at all
Agreed.
costs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the streak of droids in modern Star Wars, from Chopper all the way to now, Chopper, BB-8, L3, everybody, they are undefeated in droids. It's an amazing
They never
streak.
miss.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I love the whole idea of like Rogue One. One of my favorite things about it is that the whole K2 has a story of like, can you be more than your programming? And so it's like Gilroy seems really into the idea of droids and like explaining how a droid can tell a lie. I think that's the kind of stuff that even a kid who maybe doesn't understand that it's a brothel and things, that's the idea for them. They'll latch on to that.
Now, is it too realistic in nature that we're getting? I mean, the story starts with corrupt cops who are in a place they're not supposed to be and drinking while on the job, and then trying to shake down and rob a guy, for no reason.
Yeah, and their uniforms are blue, Chaco, which is also,
I'm just saying, is it a little bit too on the nose? How do you guys feel?
I
Alden?
mean, it's
Okay.
sorry. Like I was
No,
just
no,
gonna
no,
say.
please
I
go.
mean, if you look at the originals, was having the Empire walking around in those kind of uniforms a little bit too on the nose in terms of what they were trying to represent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But sometimes you have to be on the nose. Like sometimes you have to, like there are episodes of we'll throw it over to the UK. There are episodes of Doctor Who that directly deal with the Nazis, directly deal, but it combines them with the sillier elements too. And so if you're going to make what George wanted, the parable for 12-year-olds, you have to be able to convey really hard things to them in ways that are palatable. So like George really was passionate about keeping business out of government. Amazon and Jeff Bezos should not be able to control laws. So what did he do? He has the Trade Federation that have a seat in government. What's that about? So it's just really more of that. In the same way that, you know, Finn, just as off the top of my head, Finn is an exploration of like a child soldier, which is something that really happens. And so I think it's like, is it on the nose? Yes. Does it need to be? Also, yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Carly?
What y'all said.
Yeah, it just is.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Star Wars, like I try to like, I don't know why. When it comes to parallels and thinking about like what it means, like in our world, I try not to think about it just because like I'm so deep in the Star Wars world that I'm like, oh, this is happening because it happens in Star Wars, or like, you know, so I don't like immediately, you know, think.
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. But all right. So speaking of these people, how are we feeling about our boy Cyril?
Dude's struggling.
I
He's
love
having a
him
struggle.
so
man.
much.
Niamh is Cyril, as we established. So
I love, like, my friends when we came out of the screening were like, I hate that guy. He's so annoying. And I was like, he is the funniest character.
Yeah.
That this, like, I think he is hilarious. Like every little look he did, I was like, this is so funny. He's like the Elder Price of Star
He's
Wars.
such
Like
a
it
good
doesn't get
actor.
better. Literally.
Elder Price.
I loved it.
I met him.
So good.
I met him at the Andor premiere.
He seems like a really cool guy.
He was really
everybody's
nice.
cool.
Like he was super, super nice.
And he's
He used
great
to
at
be-
playing pathetic.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, he used,
His speech.
speaking of, he used to be in an English like period drama, and he used to have an English accent. So I didn't know he was American until like press interviews came out, and I was so shocked.
Oh,
I thought he was
yeah.
English, but
Yeah.
That's great.
crazy.
And he's a
He's
ginger.
And
That's
he's
true.
a gin.
Underrepresented. No, it's true. Yeah. His character is fascinating because it's sort of like, I don't know if there's Game of Thrones heads here or in the chat, but I compared him sort of to like Theon Greyjoy, who it's like you desperately want to be part of something that is big and bad, but do you really have that in you? And it's sort of like it's a similar angle to maybe Agent Callus or, you know, people like that, or like Del Mico. But this is also like, you're not even a stormtrooper, man. You're not even in. You're trying to be in. You're a contracted out guy. So you're like the lowest of the low in terms of bad guys. And so that is an interesting angle to have.
So is he defecting, and in what episode?
Him and Cassian are gonna go on their first date in episode 10.
100%.
Yep.
He just definitely has the look of I'm so into justice that if you can point out what's wrong with this, I'll turn against, because he's already turned against his superior, who's like, you know what, just go ahead and file this. He's like, no, people were killed, and he's not wrong for that. The people who were killed got killed because they were in the wrong, but it's
with what he knows.
And that's the other thing, is everyone is doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have available, and that's what makes it feel real. But sorry, go ahead, Niamh.
No, I was just gonna say pretty much what you. The reason I liked Ron so much in Cassian was just because it was that whole like morally gray, like a good person doing bad things for a good reason. And I think the thing that this show that I'm really enjoying is it just seems like every character is fitting that. Like every character could be good, could be bad. Like they're all in between. Like you think she essentially stole this kid, but she kind of was doing it for right reasons. But then like that's
Right.
also a very shocking decision. Like no not one way or the other, which I think I just find that so interesting storytelling wise, and that's why I'm loving this show so far. There's just so much there.
It's all implications, like the idea that
Exactly.
you can do something with the most pure of intent. I'm going to save a lost kid who's trapped on this ship. It's very dangerous. We're going to get him out of here. Is unequivocally a good thing. But you don't do your due diligence, and you don't know that you are separating him from other people because of a lack of understanding, literally, and how that develops. I mean, it's like a Star Trek Next Generation quote that Picard says, like, it's possible to make all the right moves and still lose.
Yep.
And that's life.
Yeah.
So it's hard to watch, but in a good way.
Yeah. All right, so what do we think about the whole flashbacks, the whole undercurrent? Because obviously this is kicked off because he's still trying to find his sister. And so for one, I'm really excited to find out why he thinks she might be alive. Right? Because when they were leaving, they were like, Republic dropship is here. And they killed Republic troopers. So that's not going to end well for them. And so I think we're actually going to see, I mean, I've heard rumors we're going to see some clone troopers in their Mark II armor. But they aren't really going to be the good guys in this context. So that'll be interesting. But what do you guys think of that whole, what do you think happened to those kids in that whole storyline?
Well, it's like interesting, right? Because it seems like there has been an attempt maybe at colonization, like when they go out into that giant looking clearing and things like what happened to them after that point is one mystery. Why don't they have parents is the other mystery. What happened prior to what we're seeing? So I feel like it's going to be a gradually unfolding thing that's like really sad. I like that it's there, because in the hardest Star Wars they've done, you need something for the children to see themselves. Whether that's going to be Grogu, or now it's going to be this group of kids that are hunting and living in the woods, kind of like the Lost Boys, it feels like. But why? Where are their parents? What happened? Like, what is going on?
So you say Lost Boys, and I think of Vampire.
Vampire Lost Boys.
I think of the other Lost Boys.
Right as I said it, I was like, I hope it's clear what I meant.
It took a second. Also, real quick, I want to shout out Palpamine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. May the force be with you. We are having a wonderful evening, or at least I am. Hopefully, you're still in the chat having a good evening as well. But want to make sure to shout that out. But yeah, go ahead and keep going, Alden.
Oh no, that's just about it. As I'm super intrigued. I feel bad for everybody there. I feel bad for the fact that he has to be the caregiver for his sister at that age. So it feels like tragedy just happened. We're not exactly sure what time we're in right now. I guess we could ballpark it off of Cassian's like Wikipedia age. But one thing that I like is with all that, like how they reconciled it with canon, because that could be hard sometimes. It's like, we never thought we were going to do this on screen, and we don't want to have to follow what the visual dictionary said. But what they do here is that Cassian's visual dictionary and catalyst backstory is the fake backstory that Marva establishes for him, which is a genius way to get around it. Yeah, it's so clever. And that's Gilroy. It's Gilroy. I literally I stood next to this man when he was ordering a drink and was like, I gotta say something. And I was just like, hey man, I just gotta say, you effing nailed it. And you could not have been cooler. Nice. Sweet man.
That's awesome.
Speaking of Catalyst, my thoughts. Excellent book, right? Written by James Luceno, and the show actually feels James Luceno-esque, where there's just a lot of in his books. There's just a lot of details, and sometimes you feel like you're in a textbook, but all of them come together at some point and pay off. Yeah. But in that book, there were these certain planets that were protected under a specific treaty, and you couldn't really go in and mine them, or it was very limited what you can do, so you didn't affect those environments. Right. Well, what the Empire did is the Empire would have people smuggle in a bunch of guns and other stuff, bust that person, so now they get to take over that mine, then they would strip mine it. And I honestly believe that this could be one of those planets that we saw that happen to in the book Catalyst.
Yeah.
So we see it being mined in its early stages, and then an environmental catastrophe happens because they weren't supposed to be doing this anyways. And what if they released something that, you know, killed all the adults, and now all these kids are all that's left, and they've had to survive on their own for this period of time. That's kind of where I'm leaning for it. But I do really enjoy that little part of the story because, you know, Cassian has his Mexican accent, you know, as an actor. And I was curious if they were going to tie that into anything in the story, but this is a really good way of doing that with having those kids and having them communicate, and none of them speak, you know, galactic basic. I need to speak to some of my, you know, Latino Star Wars fans to see if you guys pick up on similarities between how the kids speak and the Spanish language.
I was wondering that as well.
So I know we have like Baruka Wookiees in the chat. I don't know if you can speak to that. Oh, okay. Well, they said Beings of the Galaxy, which, by the way, is a narrative podcast, Beings of the Galaxy. Check it out. It's like a long-running story of just the different people in Star Wars that are just in the background. Very Andor-like. You may or may not hear my voice as one of the characters. So definitely check that out.
Cool.
Everything that happened hits so heavy, and
Yeah.
the show is really giving love to our space Latino friends.
It really is. I mean, and I tweeted this today, like seeing Adria Ariona in there as this Latina woman who owns a garage, who's intimately connected to what's going on here, to Luthen, what's going on beyond, who is just, I mean, like, let's call it what it is. She's so cool. She's got 2 boyfriends and no one cares. Like, she's effortlessly running this town. I hate Tim for what he did. Tim got his of his own choices.
You know what snitches get, right?
They do. I said that, like, I was coming out of the premiere and I was talking to a friend about it. He's like, so what happened? I'm like, dude, this show like is like anti like class traitor. Like somebody like tries to rat on the good folks and they get it like soon. It was that whole arc is great. But to see Cassian interacting, like you have two Latinx performers and characters sharing screen time with like no one else around, was a moment for sure.
Yeah,
the representation is amazing in the show.
I think also the scenes with the kids not having subtitles for me.
Yes.
Obviously, I can't speak for the experiences and the feelings of obviously like the Latino community or anything. But as someone who's used to obviously having audio very much easy for me, that really stood out for me. It's like this show's really trying to do something here, and I really respect. Again, it's just another creative decision that you feel like there's so much power and meaning behind that decision. And I just think that kind of effort being put into Star Wars, again, like I'm just so happy that it's being done this way.
Because it should be disorienting, right? Like it should be, you should feel like you're watching kids you don't understand because you're supposed to be Marva. She's your eyes into the scene when she finally arrives. It's like Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, which is the better West Side Story, has no subtitles on the Spanish for that reason. So I don't know if that was a controversial take or not, but you can at me about it. But yeah, it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I will say one thing about Audrey's character is she's so gorgeous that you're like, sometimes I'm taken out of the scene because I'm just like,
yeah,
I love you.
Modern Star Wars has been good about that too.
Very good.
There's a lot of beautiful human beings, and I mean, whether it's Daisy and Oscar and John or these people, like it's just like it doesn't end. Even Din Djarin's hot, and he doesn't show it most of the time, but he is.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can see it through the helmet. Like,
Din Djarin walks like a hot person for sure. Acts like an idiot, walks like a hot person.
Wait, hold on.
Also, thank you, Jared Kenobi. Really appreciate any and all donations. I just love making content and having these conversations with awesome people. So I mostly appreciate you guys coming on and being willing to chat with me and hang out.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly,
been
thank
fun.
you.
It was a pleasant post nap surprise.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going on with it, let's go ahead and kind of finish out episodes 2 and 3. It's really hard to separate them because they were so connected together, and I kept telling people, like, if it was only one episode, I feel like a lot of people would be disappointed because the first episode is just not enough. It's great.
Yeah.
It sets things up, but yeah, running everything else out. I mean, that ending scene was so powerful to me when you got to see how these events had affected each and every one of these different people in the town in different ways.
I was sobbing my eyes out in the theater.
Same.
It was powerful.
Yeah.
I think that sequence at the end of episode 3 is like one of my favorite Star Wars sequences ever. Like, I think it just showed like so much of what Star Wars is about for me, and it's just demonstrating it so clearly. And like the interchanges between Cassian on the ship with Luthen, and then the flashbacks with Marva, so creative, and it says so much without needing to say it. So good, so well done.
Yes. Yeah, that was amazing. That was the moment where because I'm such a, like, my Star Wars is fantasy. I love the lightsabers. I love the Force. I love the weird, heady Mortis and World Between Worlds and all that. Like, that's what I love. So you take that away, I have to find another way in as a fan. And once we got to the end of Cassian is talking to Luthen, and Luthen is telling him about his potential and what he can do, that's not this, and they leave together, that intercut editing scene of the past and the present, that's when it dawned on me. I was like, it's still fantasy. Like, Luthen is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Cassian is Luke. This is a classic older mentor coming in. Like, we're now leaving this world to go to another, and like, what's happening? That's when I was like, okay, this is just because it really 1 through 3 is one thing. And so you had to give it that time. I've been telling people, don't watch 1 and then wait a couple days and just go, because it feels like it needs it.
Right. It's like a movie. Like, the first 3 episodes are like a movie, and I've been telling everybody, like, you need to watch it back to back, because if you don't, you just gotta. Yeah,
my friends were on the Pod Ones podcast. We're like, yeah, we're gonna watch the first episode and we're gonna wake up tomorrow morning and like finish it. And I was like, you're not. But at least plan to watch the first 2. Plan to watch the first 2, knowing that they're gonna watch all 3 in one sitting. And
well, then you hear those drums at the end of 2, and you're like, well, I have to keep going.
God,
dude, the rock music. The rock music influence in Andor is like everything I've ever wanted in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like I was out of my seat at the end of episode. Like, the guy, I don't know what his name is, don't know if they said a name, speaking to Luthen, and him saying, like, if you can't find it here, then like it's not worth finding. And then it like pans down to Cassian as if like that's what it's referring to, and like Luthen finding him. And like, as a fan of that character with that music, I was honestly out of my seat. I was like, this is so hype. Like, this is so good. Again, so
it's
creative.
so bold. It's so bold.
It's so bold because you don't get drums in Star Wars, and I've played the drums for the past 15 years.
Oh wow!
And when that hit, it struck me so hard. But especially in a town where percussion is such a big part of their like the way things were tied together was so beautifully written from the industrial feel of the sound design on the drums in that moment, to them banging on stuff. And
so good,
man.
When is it coming to Spotify is what I want to know.
Yeah, right. I think Nicholas Patel, who, by the way, if you haven't watched Succession, my God, his score in Succession is unreal.
He's unreal.
Yeah, genius. I mean, and that's the other thing. Like, this is an aside, but like, leaving the John Williams era of Star Wars, at least for me, it was scary because it's like that's like not a small part of it. That's a huge part of it. and then Giacchino and Powell, and then of course Ludwig, and now Natalie Holt and Nicholas Bertel. Like, they're in such good hands. Kevin Kiner, cannot forget the Kiners.
Yeah. Oh
But yeah,
my
I
God,
think
yeah.
I think Bertel did tweet at least one of the tracks is there, so I'm hoping it's going to be like
I think
a
so.
kind of like how Mandalorian had dropped them bit by bit.
Yeah. Oh
And
gosh, I hope we get it.
That's so important to me though, because like John Williams is such a big part of the DNA of Star Wars. He was writing his music alongside it, so it could be told almost as a silent movie. But with him not being in the picture, I don't want someone to try and be him, right? Because if you do that, we get wish.com version of him, and it ends up being bad. We need bold visions and stepping out, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Galactic Mermaid says, well, the soundtrack is outstanding. I loved how much the show was allowed to be silent.
It made the music like
Definitely.
it made the music hit so much harder, whenever it did happen. It's just, I feel like we've never had that kind of music in Star Wars before. It's so different. It's so new. And I love it. We need more drums in Star Wars.
Absolutely. And to that comment's point, like the picking your silences is so important. Like, of course, Last Jedi probably has the greatest pick your silence moment in the entire franchise of the Holdo maneuver. But the Marva speech, which was already a cool line in the trailer of That's What a Reckoning Sounds Like, that whole speech, when it ends up being more about the silence than about the sound, and when it stops is when you should be worried. I was sitting there.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Oh hell yeah!
Dude.
I was like, I would run through a wall for this woman. Like, let's go.
Absolutely.
I had the same reaction of the guard. He's like, what happened, Sid?
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, good stuff.
And her delivery of the dialogue of just like, you brought this on yourself,
Yep.
But you're absolutely right. That's the reckoning. What happens when a bunch of armed cops like bust into an old lady's house and like,
there's a lot of like, who is important in our community? Like Bix's shop, where her and Tim work, is like, that's clearly a place where lots of people work. You see all their gloves, and like Marva seems to be like the mom of the block, basically. Like it's you're coming into our territory. We know it better. We can run it better. We've seen more than you, and they just get completely outclassed, which is a great thing to experience with a crowd, because everybody wanted to see them get it, which was very satisfying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. All right. So kind of the last bit is to focus on that, the final scene, which is I guess not the final scene, but we didn't speak much on the set piece we had all the hanging things, and we had Skarsgård come in. Like, Luthen had no right to be that badass. Like, I was not expecting. Like, so what do you guys think of Luthen's character? And I guess we'll start to wrap things up with where you guys think we're going with all this.
I love everyone who's a Skarsgård. If you have the last name Skarsgård, you're going to be a badass.
It's a good rule.
So I'm excited to see. I was excited to see Stellan. He's awesome. And that whole scene, that was the scene that they showcased during the Rogue One re-release, where they had like that special scene. That was the scene, but it didn't have like all of the clips where you see it didn't cut to anything, so it was just that scene all the way through. And just seeing it for that second time, I feel like it really did it justice with like all of the context. It's a very like on the edge of your seat moment.
Showing that this is going to be, this has big action in it as well. We can expect a lot more of it too.
Yeah, I think speaking of action, I don't want to theorize too much on what's going to happen, because I've never enjoyed doing that personally. I just think it's really picked up the pace that people are wanting from it. But I think the next 2 episodes, it's going to be purely Coruscant, Mothma, that side of it, and it's going to really slow down again, because I mean the whole point of the show just seems to be the pockets fermenting. Like, not everything's going to come together in this huge crescendo straight away. We're going to see all these different elements to it. Like, I think we're going to see oppress civilians, like, you know, Cassian, extremists like Saw at some point, and then politicians like Mothma, like all these different people coming together. So I think I'm going to expect it to really slow down episode or two. So people who aren't liking the slowness, sorry. But I think it's just going to pay off even more when it does eventually come back together. That's kind of the way that I see it.
Right. Yeah. Because at some point, I don't know when it was, but at some point, like the last 10 years, slow became bad. And that's just not true. It's like, you ever watch Fellowship of the Ring? It takes a while before that fellowship is formed.
That's true.
It's a slow first third, and I don't care because it's so beautiful. And in terms of predictions, I also don't like to do the prediction game because it's an easy way to be disappointed. Because like with everything, like it's not about what you want, it's about what they did, and if that resonated with you. So like what I want 1,000 different things. But what I think about what they're doing is like you're leaving this world, and we know that there's Coruscant coming, there's Saw Gerrera coming, there's Mon Mothma coming. It's like, welcome to Star Wars Cassian Andor is what it feels like. Like, now you're in the game, and it's a careful balance because they don't have a unified front until Scarif, and even the biggest battle before that was Adelon and Rebels, and that's still small and scattered. So there can't be a big moment this season, but you can have still tiny victories, which is what I'm looking forward to.
And much like Niamh, I am hoping that we are going to get the West Wing in space.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, and we'll see battles, but battles of an entirely political nature of people. You know, I guess a less funny version of Veep or something like that.
Catch Chaco with his like white wine for the next episode. Like,
hey, absolutely. Yeah, I'm hoping for that, and I really do want some type of reference to the delegation of the 2000.
Yes.
And just someone say Padme's name. That's you know?
Right. Like if you're gonna put,
honestly,
I don't doubt that. I'm sure it's kind of I feel like that's definitely expected.
If you're gonna put Mon Mothma, the Genevieve O'Reilly Mon Mothma, and like let's be real, if I was a betting man, and sometimes I am, but I'm not right now. If I was a betting man, it's like Jimmy Smits is coming, right? Like he already suited up for Kenobi. Like we're gonna see Bail. If we get Bail and Mothma in a room and they don't mention her, come on,
I think Mothma is my most anticipated thing about the series. Like I love Cassian, but I think Mothma's going to be the standout. I'm just so excited to like find out who she actually is, like in live action on screen. And I just think she's such a vital player in essentially the story of the originals, and I just think to be able to expand on her, like I'm just so excited to get as much of her as possible, and just that whole like political atmosphere, like
it's the best.
So excited for it,
and it's needed because it's always beautiful and interesting. Like Rings of Power is doing this right now with Elrond, where it's like sometimes you meet a leader that is fully formed, and it's like in Return of the Jedi, it's like I feel like I know who that woman is, but she doesn't seem like she's ever not in control. Like, how do you get to that place? And so to see her now in a scary place is going to be okay. Now I appreciate everything a lot more.
Yeah, and we know in canon at some point in time she is a senator who is on the run from the law. And we need to see. I'd love to see how that kind of takes place here.
Enter Saw Gerrera. I'll help. Like I hate the law.
Right.
But also I can't wait for Cassian to be in spy school, and to see. That's the thing I love is whenever you get someone telling you rules, you know that in a future episode, all of those rules are going to come into play with it.
Chekhov's gun.
And that's just, I want to see them blow up more stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh, that whole little, like, always, Cassian Andor, cover your exit. We're going to
Cassian Andor.
I mean, I love that man since Pirates of the Caribbean. I love him in Mamma Mia. I loved him in Dune. I love him in everything. He's so good. He's one of those people like Benicio del Toro in Last Jedi that it's like, I don't need alien makeup. I fit in Star Wars.
That's
I
true.
will say it's a little jarring because I've been doing an MCU rewatch and we just made it past Dark World. So it's like, I just saw you running around naked at Stonehenge, like.
Yeah,
it's weird to jump back and forth between the two.
that happened. That was a thing that they did. Yeah.
But also, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out and
Thank
having this
you.
Thank
conversation.
you.
Thank you. So much fun.
I want to go around one last time, and if you guys have any closing thoughts, things that we didn't mention or haven't brought up yet, as well as once again where we can find you and anything that you want to plug. And I'll start with Niamh.
I think just one thing that I didn't mention was when we were talking about the flashbacks. I think as someone who's a huge fan of Cassian since 2016, I'm kind of who I wanted him to be. I think just finding stuff about him as a character has just been so crazy. Like, find out he has a sister. Like, I feel like I've known him over 6 years, and now I'm like finding all this stuff out. But I think that one line of like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, and people are not appreciating the slow burn of it. Like, we don't actually know what they're easy to answer by being like, oh, his parents were killed by some Imperials, like, so he had to fight. Like, they're really drawing it out. I just think it's such a creative way of keeping us invested, whether you're watching it on a political level or like a personal level with a specific character or whatever, creative. And I just can't wait to see what else they're going to do. So if you want to see me rant about mostly just Cassian as a character, you can find me R2shetwo on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm also still in the very, very early stages of setting up my own podcast, just so I can rant about Diego Luna for like 2 hours productively. So if people have like advice, I've learned a lot from tonight, or like any sort of tips, just drop me a message. I'm very much open to any sort of suggestion, any sort of advice. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I've like wanted to be on here for ages, so I'm really glad that you reached out to me.
Thank you so
really
much for coming on, and hopefully when you get your podcast up and running, you'll invite me as a guest. I'll be happy to come along. So
absolutely.
And how about you, Alden?
Yeah, it was first of all, there's going to be a lot of crossovers happening for sure. I told some folks I was coming on with you, Darth Chaco, and people were very excited. You are beloved, or beloved, depending on your choice of pronunciation. But yeah, I mean, final thoughts on the show is just that, I mean, we're seeing some Vetch love in the comments of people just love Vetch standing there, being tall. Love that guy. I love a Star Wars weirdo whose purpose is to be a Star Wars weirdo. That's always one of my favorite things. But overall, I think the show is just intelligent and elegant, and it's the exact type of thing. Like, there's a lot of, I think, when something is fresh happens, like, this is what I want, F everything else. It's like, no, I like that there's going to be this into Bad Batch, into Visions 2, into Ahsoka, I don't want them to feel the same. And that makes me really, really excited. And so that's my final thought. And then, Ach-To Radio, a Star Wars podcast. We just had Mercedes Vernado from Mandalorian. We just had Ryan Johnson. Donations
I met her.
So
Sasha. Oh my god, I love
the coolest.
Her to death. I love her so
coolest
much.
Person. No, she's rad, and she was super generous and cool. And you know, I have seen her wrestle for like the last 10 years. So it's like just to see that her Star Wars side come out was great. So it was an honor to talk to her. She was wonderful. And there's a couple other shows on there. We do a Rebels rewatch that's ongoing, which is like Rebels episodes are like 22 minutes, and we get like an hour and 22 minutes out of all of them of talking. So if you love Rebels, that's where it's at. Tori Fox, who is one of my best friends and collaborators, has a show as well in the network called The Mandatorian Creed, which I'm still very proud of. And yeah, donate to Make-A-Wish. Find resources for Puerto Rico. I'm retweeting them the best I can. I'm Puerto Rican. And my friends Triad of the Force, who are also at the premiere and are wonderful, are also a whole Puerto Rican podcast. And so they're sharing resources as well. So if you find me on Twitter, that's more what I'm like interested in you finding and retweeting. Although if you want to retweet my B2 emo love, you can do that too. So
awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Carly.
I just want to say, what a time to be a Star Wars fan. Like,
honestly,
truly, with Andor and Ahsoka coming out in Mandalorian season 3 and Bad Batch and The Acolyte, like, there's literally so much happening.
And like
and
more
Skeleton
of these.
Crew.
Yes.
It's
So
just
excited
like
about those.
I can't complain. Like, this is just, it's been incredible. And thank you so much for having me. This is
Seriously, yeah,
so
thank
much
you.
fun. We definitely need to do this like more often and have these discussions. You can find me on YouTube. It's just Carly King. I do a lot of vlogs, whether it's going to see John Williams live or like going to D23 or different cons or Disney or anything. And I do a lot of like unboxings and product reviews too. Everything Star Wars that like I love to do. You can find that on my YouTube channel. Big Daddy Yankee on TikTok and Twitter, official Carly King on Instagram. And yeah.
Awesome.
About
And
it.
also Carly didn't mention, but she's one of the best saber flow artists that
Thank
you'll
you.
see out there.
I appreciate
So
it.
don't ever go at her in a fight.
No, you're
At
gonna lose.
least if she's unarmed, that might be different. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, so thank you everyone in the chat. I just want to shout out. We have Beings of the Galaxy, Young Jones, Ray Kenobi, Odin Actual, Died in the Force, which is my other podcast that I have with Element 7 on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Alex McBrayer, Jared, we have two Jareds in here.
Nice.
Just Darthman 86, Galactic Mermaid, Ray Kenobi. I have the best chat, and I'm always so grateful. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for joining me on this.
Of course.
And
Anytime.
and that'll end until next week, when we'll be jumping into episode 4 with a new cast of guests. But all of you guys will be invited again at a later date. But yeah, have a good one, everyone, and may the Force be with you always.
May the